Good evening and welcome to This Is The Day. It's a cold evening, but yes, we are here to keep up to speed with what is happening across the world. Hello, Fred.
Hello, how are you doing?
Fine,
Cold is actually
thank you.
an understatement, but we are good. We are doing good.
All right, so what
Yes.
are we looking at today?
We're going to look at a process that started today in the Senate. The Waiguru impeachment process has already started, and there were some interesting stuff said on the floor of the House. And then we'll also look at the Kenyan spirit of kindness.
Yeah.
Something so special happened to a family in Nyeri, and you just the fire of loving the people of this country, and this country keeps on burning and burning even more. And then we'll look at those useless stories that help no one in the world.
Alice is listening and watching.
Yes, and today we're going to focus on something that happened in Machakos that just got Twitter just going overboard. Yeah.
All right. We're live on Family TV, also live on Family Radio, where the music does the talking. Use the WhatsApp number 0786 316 316 to join our discussion. The SMS line 20316 on Facebook and Twitter at Family Radio 316.
Okay, let's start off with the process that took place today in the Senate, where the Senate Select Committee Chair, Cleophas Malala, issued an ultimatum to Governor Anne Waiguru after discovering a blunder in her evidence submission. In his ruling during the Senate hearing, Malala ordered the governor to resubmit her evidence after the initial batch was considered unintelligible. The ruling came after the lead counsel of the embattled House County raised three issues, including a claim that the documents submitted by the Kirinyaga County Assembly were hard to follow. The documents demanded included her passport, both diplomatic and ordinary, as well as the receipt she had provided for her travel payment. The Kirinyaga governor was forced to stand in silence for 30 minutes as various charges against her were read.
Anne Waiguru, you'll be required to stand in silence.
Gross violation of the Constitution. Particular number 1, failing to deliver the annual State of the County address to the County Assembly. Tender for the proposed water works for Mwea Makina Water Project, March 2018, reserved for Agro category. This tender was awarded to Eva Trading Agencies Limited, a company associated with the family of Mogon Ndavi, the Chief Finance Officer, who is a brother to Edwin Gishobi Ndavi, who holds 300 shares in the said company, in total disregard of conflict of interest and in furtherance of a corrupt and joint criminal enterprise overseen by the governor.
After that, the Kirinyaga governor addressed the Senate.
It must be recognized that the removal of an elected official is a solemn responsibility, as it overturns the democratic choice of the voters. In the case of Kirinyaga County, it seeks to substitute the will of over 159,000 citizens who voted for me on 8 August 2017. Consequently, such a process must only be carried out in extreme circumstance. Honorable Senators, you are no doubt allowed to the reality that an impeachment motion is a vastly time-consuming exercise which takes away valuable time of all parties involved, including the MCAs, the subject governors, this House, from other critical businesses. That is not all. It also infects the political environment of a county so severely that very little proceeds in the county when this process is going on. Currently in Kirinyaga, budgets are not approved. My officers are summoned daily and issued threats that they will be removed from office or otherwise sanctioned. As a matter of fact, in the last 1 month, 2 CECs and 1 CEO and the county secretary have been given a vote of no confidence by the county assembly. Critical state officers, including CECs and members of the County Public Service Board, have not been approved by the Assembly, making it difficult to employ staff even for critical health services.
Well, according to Anne Waiguru, the governor of Kirinyaga, she's saying that the MCAs have too much power in their hands, and this is making her delivery of work a bit challenging. That was her excuse. I don't know what you feel about that, Fred.
It's a tricky one. Though if you look at how quite a number of governors have been operating, for you to operate peacefully in your county government, then you have to somewhat bribe the MCAs, because if you have them against you, you're going to live a very, very difficult life. You remember, is it the Embu?
Yeah.
Embu governor, how he was impeached a couple of times, and all of the impeachment processes were actually overturned by the Senate. So you have some good MCAs, but at the same time, they are a lower unto themselves in one way or the other.
Well, that leads us to the question of today. Do you think MCS, and that is ward representatives, have so much power in their hands that they can sometimes make the delivery, that is, of the governors to the counties a challenge, as the Kirinyaga governor Anne Waiguru is stating in her defense? The WhatsApp number to use 0786316316, SMS line 20316. Well, now Kenya today recorded 155 new cases of COVID-19, raising the country's total confirmed cases to 4,952. The new cases emerged from 4,171 samples that were tested in the last 24 hours. And Health CAS Dr. Mercy Mwangangi said Kenya's cumulative tests now stand at 146,537. Well, sorry about that. Now, the ministry also termed the recent report on teenage pregnancy as inaccurate. The government now is working to ensure that expectant teenagers are comfortable while visiting the clinics. Well, there we have it about the COVID-19, and we're very sorry for the lack of sound in those clips. But as we have it there, Fred, you know, we've been talking about this for quite some time. And now Dr. Mwangangi actually termed the report that was provided by the NGOs, of course, about the 4,000 girls in Machakos County as inaccurate.
Yeah, questionable. And I remember she was talking about the possibility that they're actually going to go through the data so that they can come up with a clear data on the correct situation on the ground. So, yeah.
You know, and also the Ministry of Education has talked really much about this, considering that there are actually plans, if possible, and if the COVID-19 situation in our country is contained, schools are supposed to reopen in September. And Professor Magoha was actually saying that they need to look into these reports. They will not just introduce sex education out of the blues.
Yeah, actually, his Magoha's response was not very romantic. You know, he was very stern in the way he responded to the same. Yeah, that's Magoha for you. All
right, Duale was also the topic of today.
True.
Yeah.
The deposed majority leader of the National Assembly, Aden Duale, today morning handed over the mantle to the Kipipiri Member of Parliament, Amos Kimonyo, on the floor of the House. Duale thanked all the institutions in the National Assembly and the executive that had accorded him support during his 7-year term in that office.
Kilichokuwa na mwanzo hakikosi kuwa na mwisho. Today marks the end of my service as the first leader of majority party of this House under Article 108 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, to this end, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Kenya and my party leader, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, the Deputy President, His Excellency William Ruto, and the entire Jubilee Party, including the members of Parliament, for having given me the opportunity to serve the people of Kenya as the leader of majority for the past 7 years now. Allow me to unconditionally ask for forgiveness and apologies to anyone in this House and outside who I may have offended in the course of executing my duties. I was simply doing my job I was simply doing my job, and such is the nature of the job, as Honorable Kimunya will come to appreciate soon.
Well, Duale, who's a strong ally of the Deputy President William Ruto, was ousted during a Jubilee Parliamentary Group meeting hosted by President Uhuru Kenyatta in the presence of Deputy President William Ruto, and says he will now focus on serving the people of Garissa. MPs from both sides of the House hailed his term in office, saying he had delivered on the mandate.
And when the going gets tough, don't die. Remain strong. Don't say, I would rather die than resign. Please, don't die, just stay alive. We shall support you.
Duale told me that Jubilee is very uncomfortable with me being park chair. And of course I didn't become park chair. And that is politics. Who would want someone who is not going to further their political agenda in a particular seat? So, Honorable Duale, I wish you well. I wish you well in your service for the people of Garissa Town constituency. And at personal level, we'll still remain friends. As to your political leaning, I don't know where you're going to stand, because a lot of changes and dynamics are coming along the way. Going to 2022, I can already see it. And there's going to be political groupings. There's going to be a tsunami. I don't know who it is going to sweep.
And to the former majority leader, politically, my brother, when you see us following Baba like cows, we are fearing consequences like the one you are facing now. So politics is like that, Mukova. It is today, if you go against the wishes of the people who own parties, the people who lead this country, the consequence is a good experience for me. I will be more loyal than I was now. I will sing Baba throughout. Thank you so much.
Well, that's Honorable John Badi and Junet Mohammed giving their thoughts on Aden Duale. At the same time, the incoming majority leader in the National Assembly, Amos Kimunya, gave his maiden speech on the floor of the House.
I want to recognize the sacrifice and effort that my predecessor, the Honorable Aden Duale, has put in this office for the last 7 years. I've been here in the 12th Parliament since 2017, and I've been watching him. We work together. Fortunately, we are good friends, and I want to ask my friend Aden Duale to look at it from that perspective. There are some crucibles, or so-called crucibles in leadership, that comes and it changes your life. And you start thinking, yes, I've been doing this, but is there something else I probably should be doing? And gives you time to start preparing. So I would like to really ask that we continue working together. We bring the unification of this country together, the unity of our party, working together with our colleagues from the minority party for the better good of the Kenyan people.
Well, we would say it's for the good of the people. Yeah, even the changes. You know, there has been so many changes, and they're very drastic, of course, in Parliament and just across our politicians. But we just hope it's for the good of the people.
Let's see what happens.
All right. Yeah. Well, Fred, imagine this. There is a family, actually, and this is a true story, in Nyeri, and this family decided to give away 2 of their children. Reason being, the tough economic times that we are experiencing as a country right now hit hard so much on them, and they could not afford a meal. And this father decided that, you know what, I will give out 2 of my children to anyone who is willing to take them in so that they can at least have a meal and live comfortably. Not because I want to do that, but it's because I cannot provide for them right now.
Very sad.
That is the heart of a genuine father who just wants the best for their children. Well, Kenyans have big hearts, and we are very generous. Well, because Kenyans have actually come to the aid of this family in Nyeri, and they have given them foodstuffs, even job offers, some donations, and actually police officers from Karatina Police Station have guided these donations, and they led the whole process. Listen into this story.
Nimeshindwa hata kupatia watoto wangu chakula, hata kujinunulia mavazi. So nimeamua mimi kutafuta mtu nimpe watoto wangu wawili free of charge. Nilifikiria maisha itakuwa mzuri lakini imenilemea kidogo. Tajiri akijua ya kwamba ati wewe maisha yako vile unaishi anakuchukua kama chombo, pia wewe ukiwa kama mtu unalemewa na maisha. Mimi nimelemewa.
Faida sasa msaidizi mwingine ni sawa.
Sababu mimi hata saizi nikiacha kasi mahali ninafuatananga na mke wangu nyuma, hali tunapatiwa hata mahali pa kulala, sababu sina kwetu penye nasapeleka mke wangu.
Sasa mimi vile nawaona masida wanapitia masida magumu kama kulalia, watoto wapati madisi ya kukula, saa ingine ile unga wamepata ndio wanakula.
Well, that was the story of one sad family. And because of all the Kenyans that decided to help this group, and I will quote this family, that is, I will quote what the father said. I honestly have no right word to thank those that have come out to support us. We have been getting visitors and hundreds of phone calls from people willing to help. Now our children can stay with us because we have enough to feed them. Good job, Sinio.
That's so good.
You know,
That's so kind.
Kenyans were actually ranked as bullies, but we're also good, very good.
We are bullies on Twitter.
Yeah.
But on the other, we are good. Yeah, we are a very good nation, by the way.
Yeah.
We are a very good nation.
Well, we should not also forget the widows in our communities, in our estates, because today is International Day for the Widows, and most of them are actually facing a lot of challenges, and we need to step in as a society. So I spoke to one lady who actually was dealing with some widows in her previous line of duty, and she told me that, you know what, these challenges are not only financially, they have so much more challenges. Listen in.
Thank you very much for having me today. Having worked with a lot of widows through the past years, there's always three major factors that you get to see that they're experiencing from most of them. So one of them is just stigma from the society. Another one is that they get to feel very vulnerable negatively from their situation. And another common one is being financially disenfranchised. So most of the time, a woman who's a widow is looked at somebody who's just not anybody in the society. And for her to have lost her husband, who is the anchor in the family, pretty much she's just left, completely vulnerable, cannot get anything done. And even when you're looking at what society can be able to help them do, it's quite difficult because for them, they get to be in a helpless stage.
All right, and there's one common one that happens in, let's say, some of the communities around. There is the issue of inheritance once maybe someone or a woman loses the husband. Is this some of the cases that you have received or you have had from widows across the country?
I will speak mostly from where I worked in the previous years, which is towards the western side of Kenya. And that was something that was common because some people are literally only exposed to the traditional ways of life. So what they think would be best, especially for a woman in society, would be to probably go to the next. I mean, if her husband dies, goes to the brother. And for her, she has no say, or whatever she's trying to make out of her life, she can't even do that because for her, in her traditional society, it's the elders who have a say in her life. And that was very common. And most of those widows would go into depression because of that. Most of them would just feel helpless. Others would just fall sick. Sometimes ailments would come out of just feeling your emotional distress. So that was pretty common. And we're talking about not too long ago.
All right. And considering all these challenges that widows face, maybe what is the role of the society to at least make sure that they don't face these challenges?
Number one, as we've mentioned before, society has a particular stigma towards widows. What society needs to do is particularly look at widows as people who are relevant in our society, not people who are less than. Because if you now look at them as people who are relevant, then we'll now start changing the notion of how to probably give them opportunities, kind of trying to help them get out of what they feel is a disparity, and also trying to make them, just build and even empower themselves. Because a lot of people have the aspect of, okay, for widows, we need to empower them and form these groups, do achama. But the first and major thing that people need to do is look at them as people who are worth it, worthwhile, and not less than.
Well, and also there is the issue of emotional support, because as you said earlier, some of these widows actually go through some emotional torture and emotional instability because of, number one, losing their loved ones, and then there is the stigma that comes with it. So when it comes to emotional support, how can we do that?
It's not quite easy to be able to support them, because each and every widow, how they got to that scenario is very different. And how they're probably grieving is very different. It's not going to be the same. So we don't have a particular, let's say, code of conduct or rules that you can follow to be able to help them get there emotionally. What they need. What used to be there in traditional society long ago, not today, was that anything happens to anybody in that society, let's take for the widow, there's immediate support from the children, from the siblings, from the extended family. There's just that support for them to know there's somebody there. I think that's just the major base of emotional support you can give to a widow. Because for any other aspect, I think it's secondary, coming from the aspect that you are there just to support. The rest is secondary.
All right. And lastly, do you think the government is doing enough to support the widows? And if not, maybe in what sector should the government up its game when it comes to supporting them?
The government, I should say, although they might want to be independent from this, a lot of the support comes from NGOs, comes from community groups, comes from individuals who are philanthropic. And I think where the government can really step up is to kind of endorse all these organizations and movements that are trying to help the widows. Kind of put not really a stamp, but, kind of show that they really support this. So that, for example, when a widow has just become a widow, when they're going through the process of getting the death certificate, sometimes we can have, unfortunately, unscrupulous in-laws who come in and scoop that in for themselves. And you see, and this is from a government entity. So if you have a government that supports and endorses widows through these organizations, they'll be able to see these problems that come about and be like, no, you see, in this scenario, a widow should be the first to be able to come in and is the only one who can get this death certificate, so that at least we are weeding off all these problems, so that the widow can be able to at least stand and be like, I can get what I need to get after my husband has gone. And I think that's a minor but a very effective way for the government to really stay in course of helping these vulnerable people in society. Because if we say that they should come in and empower, they are all over empowering in various ways. But really the impact is not something that we're able to see.
All right. Well, before I let you go, and please allow me to ask this question. Do you think the widows are getting a very conducive environment in our churches? And do the churches actually provide a space for them to feel safe?
I would say yes and no, because some churches actually do take the initiative to look after the widows. Others don't really want to take that initiative because of the resources, number one. Number two, they are focusing more on other aspects and other projects rather than the widows. Just the same way, when you get to the church, most of the time, the people who have to stand forward are the widows, the youth, the single people, and kind of voice out themselves and be like, we need to be heard. But some are listening, others are really not. And that's kind of painful because we know the Bible says we need to look out for the widows and the orphans, and also guide the youth in our society. So there's quite a lot of work to be done, not only for the government. The church needs to, I would say, search and see what their role is in society. How are they being impactful in various groups in the society?
Well, thank you so much, Lorraine, for joining us today, and I hope that the widows will actually get a safer space. And this is a country for all of us, so if they don't feel safe, then something obviously is wrong somewhere. So we pray that they will get what they're looking for.
Yes,
all right.
Indeed, I hope so.
Well, thank you so much, my dear, and have a good evening.
You too, thank you.
When her name is Lauren Okinda, and she says, you know what, even as Christians, we need to create a safe environment for widows. They feel so much left behind in some of the churches where they're not even recognized or helped. And she says some of these people have to step up for themselves. That is why you see widows making noise, because no one speaks for them.
True, and I think it's in the book of James. It says true religion is taking care of widows and orphans.
Yeah. Well, we have Pauline who is saying, family media where the music does the talking. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Pauline, and we appreciate you too. Hey guys, this is Kevin from Manyanja Road, and on the question of today we were asking, do you think the MCAs have so much power in their hands? And he says MCAs might be biased sometimes, but most of the time, such as Waigurus, they are not biased, for she has been infamously caught in the cookie jar from the time of the NYS. Now it's Kirinyaga. Impeach her, please. Yani ameinua mikono. Thank you so much, Kevin from Manyanja Road.
Remember, all these are just allegations until they're proven.
Until proven guilty, though. Yeah. Joseph from Kiserian. On today's topic, I don't think MCAs have excess power. This is because the complaints are only arising from Kirinyaga. That said, it means the governor is trying to find excuses for the hot seat she's on. Unfortunately, lies are thick. They move fast, but not so far. I think Waiguru should step down and have herself investigated. Thank you so much, Joseph, for tuning in. Sikimenyi, hello. Well, the power in the hands of the MCAs may be too much, but proper use of the same protects misuse of resources meant to serve the mwananchi. When I listen to Waiguru, she's trying to say that much as she has a case to answer, impeachment is a time-wasting process. Why not provide evidence she hasn't misappropriated funds? Good question there, AC. Asante sana for tuning in. We also have Kipchirchir Gilbert. Hello, Fred and Sarah. Welcome. Niko na nyinyi mpaka mwisho kutoka huku Karen. Thanks for the song I requested. Unitafutie. I love the show. Thank you so much. And I am very happy that you got the song you wanted to know about. Thank you.
All right. We'll switch the gear a little bit and just look at some of the effects that this COVID-19 period has brought on us, because right now what is happening is the Ministry of Health is saying quite a number of mothers, and mostly so within the other areas, the rural areas, are not taking their children for vaccination. And this poses a very serious risk to the children, because if opportunistic diseases and other things come in, if your child has not been vaccinated, chances are your child will be infected. And so they're calling on mothers, please take your children for vaccination.
All mothers to take their babies to their well baby clinic visits. Facilities have put in place measures to ensure that there is no crowding and that infection prevention control is maintained. These vaccines are very important to ensure that immunity of children is built and they are less susceptible to infections, specifically respiratory infections, in this era of COVID-19.
Well, you know, she talked about vaccination, and also the WHO has actually noted that there is an increase in the number of infections because of the virus. And well, the Secretary General for World Health Organization has sent a warning that COVID-19 may last for quite some time. You know, we don't know when it's going to end because the infection numbers are increasing. So for that reason, we need to change our ways. Here's the WHO representative.
The pandemic is accelerating. More than 150,000 new cases of COVID-19 were reported to WHO yesterday, the most in a single day so far. Almost half of those cases were reported from the Americas, with large numbers also being reported from South Asia and the Middle East. The world is in a new and dangerous phase. Many people are understandably fed up with being at home. Countries are understandably eager to open up their societies and economies. But the virus is still spreading fast. Continue maintaining your distance from others. Stay home if you feel sick. Keep covering your nose and mouth when you cough. Wear a mask when appropriate. Keep cleaning your hands. We continue to call on all countries to focus on the basics: find, isolate, test, and care for every case. Trace and quarantine every contact.
That has been the World Health Organization Secretary General. Things are not going to be normal like we used to.
True, but I'm very hopeful. I'm a very hopeful person. I believe before the end of no, I doubt whether we're going to go until December, because if you look at some of the research that have been done on you know, some of the medication that will take care of COVID, including vaccinations, we're not that far off. So I believe even we as humans will develop some resistance to the disease. So by December, things should be okay in terms, not really back to normal, should be okay in the sense that we would have one way or the other developed some sort of resistance to this disease. So it's going to be with us for some time, but it's not going to be as crazy as it has been and as it was at the very beginning. And talking about, you know, changing our lifestyle because of what's happening, I don't know whether you noted, it was captured in so many dailies today, where you remember during the ousting of the National Assembly Majority Leader, Aden Duale, the MPs all came together, some of them even behind the president, and most of them did have masks. They were not exercising social distancing, and it's causing quite a scare. And I thought it is very important to remind them what the CS Health said, because it doesn't matter where you are or who you are. You gonjwa haijui mtu.
Haijui political parties.
Yeah, just listen to this.
This virus does not have a good side or a bad side. This virus does not know that side or the other side. This virus will kill you.
But when so let's remember, whatever happens, we just need to maintain the protocols that have been set in place so that we protect one another.
You know, and people can actually take this not seriously, but it is very serious because, and this is actually something that was noted. All those MPs came from different parts of the country. What happened to the issue of lockdown? So that means they are on the hotspot. Like Kenyans are looking at them right now. They could be the ones that are flaunting the rules that have been put by the government itself under the Ministry of Health to help curb the spread of COVID-19, which is really happening. And we have new cases in different parts of the world. China are now recording what is said to be a second wave of coronavirus, and also in Europe. And this is something very interesting. New cases have been reported, and especially in the meat factories. So why is the reason? Why do we have new cases where there is meat? Listen in.
Well, we're in discussion with Welsh Government to see if local lockdown is an option for us here. What does that mean? Who enforces it? Who triggers it even? And what business support is there? Because the economy on Ynys Môn isn't the best economy. It's been hit over the last few years, and we need to make sure that the economy doesn't get affected worse than it has already.
So we're seeing many large outbreaks in institutional settings like these meat processing plants, like care homes, like hospitals. The risks are that these outbreaks may not be contained in those settings and may spread into the community. And if we see significant community transmission, that does significantly increase the risks of a second wave.
So in Europe, actually, those who love meaty stuff have to tone it down at this moment, because most of the meat factories are actually closing down because these workers are being affected with the coronavirus. But according to some of the scientists and the research that has been done, it's maybe attributed to the chillers and the so much low temperature in these factories. Well, that's really sad. Well, Alice from Machakos texted in, "Good evening. I'm really touched by the discussion about the widows, and I like the way that lady has explained it." Thank you so much, Alice, for tuning in. We also have Wangoi. Wangoi is saying, "Hi, MCAs have too much power and no one to check them. Every time their money requests are declined, or they are required to account for funds utilized like unnecessary travel abroad, they threaten impeachment. I hope the Senate process is flawless, because I don't believe the MCAs are so sincere." Let's wait and see about this Waiguru issue. It's going to be a long ride, but it will come to an end.
True.
Yeah.
And Alice from Machakos.
Masaku.
Yeah. What I can tell you, today's story, which I normally say these are stories that will not benefit anyone, but it's a very interesting story because the governor of Machakos, Dr. Alfred Mutua, decided to do things in a very unique way.
Yeah.
Very strange, very unique. In his own wisdom, he decided to make a speech. And in his address, he used 10 different dialects. Kalenjin, Luya, Sheng, English, Swahili, and boy, did Twitter go absolutely bananas. Listen to this.
Nagokwanirie mbuya ore omwana ominto omukenya nakurogwa mbedu mwisanga wa Kenya ubu kwasilwa ndi kukaiya kwa isanga jabazuri watini na wakiwa valazi wayere jotelo maongo chilo kendo kaluore gi nyalo margi mar kelo ndongruok manyala loko pin Kenya nyuno gete nudwadwe dhi kukwa goro ni kwaga mawira mukoroni no atufudithirie ukavira no murimu wa corona nuona nite dura kurana kavira. Alafu pia umechoka vile hauna kakitu kwa mbosho na kuna mabezanga wanapora maganji zenyu. Mavijana washakufa moyo vile hakuna mawira. Tukue rada kwa sana, tusipangwe na maleaders wengine kuinstall forms za ukabila kwa akili zetu vile wakoloni walifanya. Umaskini haujui ukabila.
So, Alice, how do you like your governor now?
Oh my word, she's typing. Alice is typing. I'm just trying to understand. Hey, Alice.
But he has spoken better Luo than you speak yourself. You're Bontao. It's true. He's spoken very good Luo. He's spoken very good Luya. Kalenjin also.
The Sheng, you know, okay, this is very embarrassing. And the other time I used the Sheng word here, ilienda south.
Mrama.
But I just got the word mavijana. Anyway, I have to go and re-listen to that. Alice is still typing. Nangoja kusoma hiyo comment ya Alice. Well, but in the meantime, wow, my goodness, I like that part to the back. Mr. Mutua. Oh, that's for Mr. Mutua, no mine.
Yeah.
Well, we have to call it quits today.
Yeah, we do, don't we?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to This Is The Day and for joining our discussion. We really appreciate that. My name is Sarah Otieno.
I'm Frederick Nju.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.
Nation.